What's up and welcome to part 2 of manual swapping my E36 M3. In part 1 we removed the automatic transmission, and today we're going to go over all the details that you need to know when manual swapping your E36 M3. That's going to include modifying my drive shaft or finding a manual drive shaft, adding manual pedals, adding all the clutch hydraulics to the car, as well as a new manual transmission support brace and reverse light wiring for the manual transmission. So follow along, we're going to jump right in. All right, we're going to start this thing off with what I would argue is probably the biggest thing you have to change in the manual swap, and that is modifying your drive shaft. I guess the biggest thing if you're going to modify it, or you could just buy a manual one and put it in there. But in my case, I'm just going to modify it, and this is the reason. You can see right here, this is our automatic transmission. That's the manual, and they're lined up bell housing side. And you can see, I don't know, from guibo to guibo, it's, what would you say, 6 inches, 8 inches, something like that. But we're not going to guess. I could measure it outside of here, measure the difference in the transmission length, but to make sure I get the exact right measurement for the drive shaft shop, I'm going to put this manual transmission in the car, and then we'll know how much I can measure from the back of the trans to the center support bearing, so I know how much to lengthen this front section here. So I'll measure from the back of the trans, which is going to be somewhere here, to right where this mounts on the bottom of the chassis. So that's what we're going to dive into first. Alright, so I said this last time, at least I'm pretty sure I did. That's the last time I don't pull a whole motor and trans out if I'm doing anything trans clutch related. Unless I have a lift. Until I have a lift. While I'm working on the ground, that sucks. The transmission's up, as I'll show you now. Ooh, let me grab a tape measure. So, transmission's in, big pain in the butt, laying on my back, getting filthy. But we'll show you here. I got the transmission in. I think that should be able to show where I'm measuring from, but I got the transmission in. As you can see, I got one bolt in the bell housing, and I got the new manual transmission cross member, holder, brace, whatever, and it's flush with the motor. So now I'm going to measure from the back of this transmission guibo to right here, which is the center support bearing bolts, and that distance is, wow, let's call it 24 and 7/8. 24 and 7/8. So that's how long my front half of the drive shaft needs to be modified to. Or if any of you guys are doing this, saved you the work. You don't have to mock it up and measure it. Just take it to the shop and have them lengthen the front half to 24 and 7/8. So that's the first part. I'm going to drop this trans back out, and tomorrow I'll go drop off the drive shaft to go get modified. So check it out. This is later on, but here's my modified drive shaft. Got it back from the axle drive shaft shop around here. This is the front section that was lengthened. It was about here before. They added, I don't know, 6 or 7 inches onto it. To whatever my measured length was before. They rebuilt both U-joints and threw on a new center support bearing, balanced it, and painted it. It was a little more expensive than I wanted to. I think it was like 450 bucks, but really not too bad considering I've got a basically brand new drive shaft now. So yeah, not too bad. So we're gonna start putting together the pedal set. So I've got it here on the bench. As you can see, I still have my automatic brake pedal. Got our clutch in here. This is the same whatever pedal set, pedal holder that came out of the car. It's already got provisions for the clutch on the side, so I just bought a clutch pedal. However, I couldn't find a brake pedal in stock at the moment. So I'm just gonna modify this brake pedal, because as you can see, with the clutch pedal in its position, it'll work, but it's just, you're gonna be maybe pushing both pedals. So I've got an E36 pedal here that I thought would work. It's really, really close, but some of the brake switch sensor and where it lines up to the brake booster isn't quite the same. Close, but not quite. So I just kind of drew the shape of our E46 brake pedal, because I think the angle's the same. So I kind of drew a little line here that I'm going to cut right around where it's welded on there. And maybe I'll stick my normal brake pad over it and see if you'll even be able to tell. Might be an easy way around buying a new pedal. So I'm going to cut that up and show you how it looks here in a second. Alright, here's our finished product. Well, not finished product, but cut product. I just kind of filed the edges down so they're not super sharp. And it's not the exact same shape. You can see the right side's a little different just because that's the shape, and I don't feel like cutting more than that. So I'm just gonna quick spray job of spray paint, cover up that bare metal, and we got ourselves a manual brake pedal. Let's see how long that works till I eventually replace it. Maybe, maybe not, we'll see. Check it out, another little brake pedal improvement. So I cut up the factory automatic brake pad, and I just threw it away here. Snipped off the side that was over here, which is perfect, because now once it's under the column and everything, you won't even notice. And the brake pedal, the automatic brake pedal, has a little bit extra over here, which might be pretty good for heel and toe. It'll be a little bit closer for my toe or side of my foot, closer to the gas pedal. People pay a lot of money for those pedal extensions, and here we go, for free. Now we're gonna remove all the automatic crap that you don't need once you manual swap or deal with it. So first things first, underneath the car, I just pulled off the flex disc, whatever bracket, this torque converter bracket, and this little spacer. Here's all our bolts we're gonna reuse for a flywheel. Well, now I'm hoping we're gonna make sure they're the right length. I didn't really think about that, because my flywheel, my ECS lightweight flywheel, did not come with new bolts. And then under here, we've got this shifter cable that comes through the automatic shifter, and it's right here and bolts onto the side of the automatic transmission. We're just gonna grab two crescent wrenches, undo these, and we'll pull this bracket off, and then we'll be able to push it or pull it right out through the cabin. And then last thing we have to do is remove our automatic transmission cooler. So we've got these two lines that go up to the front, and then right in front of the radiator is the transmission cooler. So we're gonna pull these lines out and remove that cooler from the front. So as I said, that was really easy. Just pulled the little bracket off the other side. You can see it's tucked a little bit up here, but it should just pull right through now. And there it is. Automatic shifter cable. Throw it in the trash. Ooh. So up front for the trans cooler, they go right into, you can see the center of the back of the radiator. There's a 13 millimeter bolt that goes between these hard lines and where it connects to the cooler. And then right over here underneath, what is this, power steering, there's a little, I think a 10 millimeter and a plastic bracket that will pull off, and then these things are loose and we'll just fish them out the back. Looks like it'll be the easiest way, since there's a big chunk of hard line that goes to the back. And then the last automatic thing we have to do is the automatic trans harness. It's currently hanging down right here under the car. I'm just gonna pull it back up from the top. See if I can do that right now. Oh, geez. Well, I'm gonna have to fish it out of here, and I'm just gonna pull it back up, and maybe I will tuck it down here or fold it up and tuck it somewhere as much out of sight as I can. Not gonna strip the harness out of the car. I'm just going to tuck it away because we won't need it ever again. And then I'm thinking can't quite see it, but it's right in the bottom of the radiator here. The actual trans cooler. I think I'm gonna leave it on for now, just because I don't want to take off the bumper. I know I'm gonna take off the bumper and the whole front of the car at some point, and I'll just remove the trans cooler from in front of the radiator then, or when I upgrade the radiator or something down the line. But no point in disassembling it now. I'm just gonna drain it and find a nut that will thread into those cooler lines so it doesn't leak anything out going forward. So I just said something dumb. I said I was gonna plug those with a random bolt, those cooler lines that's in the actual cooler, but there's a 13mm nut that holds the hard lines in that are just press fit into the cooler. So I'm either just gonna like tape over them, or maybe I'll get some JB welded film, because that thing's just gonna go straight into the trash once I pull it out. So that's probably what we'll do. And fought these hard lines, pulling them out for about 5 seconds before I decided I was wasting my time. Got out the trusty angle grinder and snipped them right in half, pulled the front half out the front and the back out the back. Way easier, way simpler, didn't waste my time. Again, those are going in the trash, so it doesn't matter. So that's it for all the automatic stuff removal. The trans harness I snaked up through here, and then I just folded it on the frame rail. I'm probably gonna zip tie it here for now, and once I get my intake and everything back together, we'll see if that's a good spot for it. If not, we'll find a new place for it, but I think that's gonna work for now. So the next thing to do, we're gonna slap our flywheel in and the new clutch, but before we can do that, as you may have noticed underneath there, my rear main seal was leaking a little bit. So I've got a new rear main seal in this box, and then this is the little rear main cover. We're gonna replace that, and then I'll show you me putting it all together. That's what we're gonna do. Well, as I told you, I'd probably take the front end off at some point, and here we are. So this is the automatic trans cooler, held in with looks like 8mm, 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom, and this is where the hard lines bolted in underneath. So we're just gonna pop that sucker off and throw it in the bin. So in quite the change of events, this next clip was supposed to be me doing the rear main seal and hanging the clutch underneath the car, but here we are now. Motor's out of the car and over there. So before I was gonna do that rear main seal, I went to fix my header studs going down to the rest of the exhaust, because as you can see when I pulled them off, each stud broke. So I was gonna cut them out because I was trying to hammer them. You can't really hammer them out. So I was gonna cut them out, but I can't cut them out in the car, so I was gonna pull the headers off. And in removing the rear header, snapped one of the header studs, and the rest of them, I snapped this one, and the rest of them pretty much came out, and they were all like welded together with rust. So one thing led to another, and now the motor's out. So now it's gonna be a little bit easier to put everything together, but as you can see with my header, I've got the first one done. See, I cut the corner out of the flange, and then I was able to hammer out the stud. So I'm gonna do the same thing to the other header, and then we're gonna resume putting the changing the rear main seal, putting the clutch on, and now we'll be able to mount the transmission outside of the car, which is gonna be a heck of a lot easier. So it was an extra day of work there, but oh well. Now I'm getting to refresh a bunch of other crap in the engine bay that I didn't plan on doing, but it's probably good that I am getting around to doing it now before going and beating on it on the track. So see you in the next clip. All right, you just watched me put on the clutch and lightweight single mass flywheel. The flywheel bolts are 77 foot-pounds and the pressure plate bolts are 18 foot-pounds, in case you needed to know. But I think I'm gonna call it there for this one. We got the clutch put on, the motor out, stuff I didn't plan on doing, but now I've got a big old list of stuff to order and refresh, the stuff I broke or stuff I came across that I wanted to refresh while the motor's out. So I'm gonna end this one here. We got the pedal assembly put together, drive shaft modified, the clutch put on, and then the next one we will slap the trans together, drop it in, and a bunch of refreshing stuff, like I said. So thanks for following along. Almost there, done with this swap. The track day is coming up. We're going in less than 2 weeks, I think. So I really got to get this together and a little shakedown before then. So thanks for following along. Keep it rad.